Hey everybody, today, you see my feet? We're home. And there's nothing I like more if I don't have to work than being at home. I will stay at home all day. There's nothing in the streets I want. I love being in my house. I pay all this money for a house. I love being in it. It's fully furnished. They got everything I need. I be in the house. All y'all other girls, y'all can have the streets. I ain't for the streets. Ain't no street meat here. But anyway, so we're making lamb. I had my lamb that I got, my shoulder lamb. I wanted chunks, but they didn't have it. So I got just the lamb from Publix. I cut it up. Most of my pots are all packed up because I should be moving here soon. So I just have my diamond clad pan here on my clad pan. I don't know. I think it's hexagon plaid is what I had, or clad, or I don't know. It's what I had, so I'm cooking in it. So here's my seasoning that you can buy on my website, phenomenalfoodbychefholly.com. This is my all-purpose seasoning. This is really great with lamb. So after you wash your lamb and do all of that, dry it off, you're going to put some olive oil or vegetable oil in your hexaclad pan or whatever pan you're going to do your stews in. Now, let me just say this. This pan was too small for my stews. I have big Dutchies that I don't use, but I couldn't find none. I found one, so I'm going to do some other dishes in my big Dutchie. But at this point right now, I'm very limited on what I got going on. So this is what I got going on. Anyway, so I chop up all the lamb, and we have it now in the pan. I don't know what it is about this technology on this pan, but I really do like it. But I had too much meat in here. But we're going to make it work. So let's do what we do. So we want to get a nice sear on all of this lamb. You can also do this with goat. You can also do this with oxtail. You can do this with chicken. I mean, it's a stew. So you can kind of do whatever it is you want to do. But we're going to season it up now with my all-purpose seasoning, which is absolutely wonderful on lamb. Lamb has that gamey taste to it, but this seasoning seems to work really well with getting out that shot outside and drug them through in the back of a truck kind of taste or feel. All right, so I'm just going to be making some plain jasmine rice. I do love jasmine rice. It's a very simple rice. I do it in my pressure cooker. Now, the way you do jasmine rice is not like parboiled rice. It's 1 to 1.5. I sometimes do 1 to 1. And maybe like 1 to 1 and 1/4 or whatever, because you don't want this rice to be so sticky that is like mashed potato. Nobody, because we don't want mashed potatoes. We want mashed potato, we cook mashed potato. So we're going to go ahead and put in the rice. We're going to take it to the sink. And we're going to go ahead and rinse it off a little bit. And then we're going to add the appropriate amount of water. You can also do the finger method. Stick your finger in as long as it comes over that first line of the part of like right underneath your nail and the first part of your finger. And the water comes right above that. And once you put your hand in the rice, then you're good to go. I got some other meat over there I'm finna cook later on. That's what that is. So just please ignore that. That's just the frosting right there. So go ahead and get our rice together. And then we are going to go and put it in a rice cooker. I got a Tiger rice cooker, which I learned from watching Quan Tran. Love Tiger rice cookers. They're not cheap rice cookers for the home, but they're really good ones. And I've had this one for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead, plug that in, turn it on. All I do with this white rice when it comes out is season it with a little Asian vinegar. That's it. You can put a little sugar in it if you want to, but I just use a little Asian vinegar, set it, forget it when it comes out. All right, so now we're going to start turning this meat, and as you see, we got a little brown going on. And because I kind of overcrowded the pan, we're just going to move things around really slowly. Now, this is going into the oven, and with all meats that you cook, they tend to shrink. Not tend to shrink, they all shrink as you cook. So the pan is going to become enough. Once I get everything in there and get it in the oven, everything starts reducing. The onions, the celery, the carrots, the meat, everything starts reducing. The pan will be enough then. But just rule of thumb for me is normally you don't want to overcrowd your pan. You really want to use a pan that makes sense, or a pan that's big enough to have all your stuff. But I'm a professional. I'm not like you other girls. Anyways, then we're just going to continue to brown this meat. And when it gets a nice little color on it, we'll start adding the vegetables to it. Alright, so now let's go ahead and put in some tomato paste. I had some leftover tomato paste. I like it in a tube at home. for whatever reason. It's just easier to put back in the fridge when I don't use it, because although I am a professional caterer at home, I'm just cooking enough for like me and my small little family, you know. So put in about maybe, what's that, a quarter cup. I got the lazy celery. Gonna take that out of there. I didn't feel like dicing no celery. Don't judge me. Judge your mammy. Then we got the diced onions that I got here that I put in there. One container of that. It's just a regular grocery store container of diced onions and diced celery. Publix have it. I think Kroger sells it too. And if you don't want to, just dice up 2 small onions and dice up 3 to 4 clean celery stalks and throw in there. There you go. If you want to do walk, do walk. Me ain't doing no walk though. Go buy the thing them all, dice up. Anyway, lazy man thing, useless man thing, but anyway, it working. Alright, so now that we have all that going, you can hear the sounds. We're looking for our beef bouillon. I'm using Better Than Bouillon today. That's 1 big hunk of tablespoon of it. It's not super salty, but it's a little salty, okay? So I did 2 tablespoons of that in there. My seasoning has salt already in it, so I didn't feel the need to add any additional salt, especially using this bouillon. Most bouillons, y'all, are full of sodium. So if you're using bouillons, I would suggest cook your food with your bouillon. When your food is done, taste it. If you need to add more salt, add the salt then. But bouillon is salty. Remember, I told you that bouillon is salty. All right, so then we're going to add some water. And when you're braising, you just want to add just enough water, not necessarily to cover the meat, but just coming up to the top of the meat. We're going to end up covering this up, and then we're going to put it in the oven just like this. I know it sounds crazy, but as everything reduces, you'll be able to mix it up as you go. I'm still here, y'all. I'm just letting y'all watch me cook this dish. Most of my cooking videos in the past, I cut all this out, but this is kind of a day in the life of what I got going on when I'm just home, just chilling. I do watch movies too while I'm home. I love Nigerian Nollywood movies. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of browning. This just comes from my Caribbean heritage right here. We always like to have our stews to have a little dark color. You ain't got to put too much because we ain't trying to make no black ink looking nothing. But the stew just has you'll see when it comes out the oven, how that little bit of browning just helps. And browning is really just like burnt sugar. But they sell it in a jar now. So why am I going to sit there and go through all that and burn myself when I can just buy it? All right, so we have the cover finally on top of the lid. We're going to put it in the oven on 400 for about 2 hours at first. Then we're going to pull it out, check to see if it's tender. And if it's not tender, we'll put it back in for anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes and continue to check it till it's tender. Because my stews, I don't like no tough meat in my stews. Nobody want no tough meat on top of the rice. You want nice, soft, tender, delicious, succulent meat in your stew. And this lamb shoulder can be tender, but I find that when you're stewing it, you need to stew it the regular amount of time. So I let it go for about 2 hours. I'm going to check on what I got going on the other side of my house, which is me going in the bed. Anyway, let's head back up the stairs. I'm going to probably watch a few Nollywood movies. I did not put on my slides, which is bad move on me. Normally I put my slides on when I come downstairs. So as you can see, I'm there putting on my slides again. Remember, day in life, not a normal regular video. Okay, so there's my rice vinegar. I'm going to pour it over my rice that it's done. And that's all I put in the rice. That little bit of vinegar, like, is about a half a cup. It really helps cut the heaviness in the stew. Because the stew is like, it has a lot of natural, animal fats and so on and so forth, and it has, oil and all that, and this little bit of vinegar on this rice, you guys are going to thank me. It's be such a shock with your stews how good it tastes with that little bit of Asian vinegar. Asian vinegar is tart, it's sweet, it's all of that, and it's really, really good. So let's go ahead and pull out our lamb and get a look at that. There we go. And we're going to take a look at it in a second. There's my son. You can see him in the background. Ooh, look at that, y'all. Isn't that looking good? But what I found here is it was not tender enough. So I had to put it back in the oven. And I think I put it back in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. And I just kind of just checked it to see if it had enough tenderness that I wanted it to have. And it didn't. But you see how everything reduced and how it's made its own natural, we don't call it gravy, but it really is like a natural au jus sauce. And actually, if you drain that sauce and threw it into a food processor and then pushed it through a fine mesh, anyway, we're getting too technical, but you can make a really, really nice, clean, pretty, beautiful sauce. So we ain't tender enough, so we're going back in the oven for another 45 to an hour. I think this in total took me about anywhere from 2 hours and 45 minutes to 3 hours. My braises have to take time in the oven. Like, I don't like to do my braises or my stews on top of the stove. I start them there, but I like them to go into the oven. So anyway, I'm gonna head back upstairs for a minute while my food is cooking, and I'm watching a Nollywood movie. I think that's Bimbo. I forgot what her last name is. Right there in the middle. A very pretty girl. I like to see her. She's a beautiful body. Nice shape too. Anyway, so I came back downstairs to check on my lamb. And here we are. Took the top off. Whoosh. Beautiful. Clap, applause. Look how beautiful that is. Look at that stew. Look at that stew. Look at that stew. That stew looks so good. Now the pan isn't too big now, huh? I mean, too small now, huh? So that meat is nice and tender, and we're going to serve it up with some jasmine rice. If you want to do some vegetables with it, like some spinach or some cabbage or whatever it is, Brussels sprouts, whatever it is you like, broccoli, which, I like broccoli, but I don't like broccoli. So here we go, putting it all together. I put it in a little bowl. I made some for me, and I made some for my son. My son loves my stew dishes. He loves my stew. So that's that. And here's my son's bowl. Fixing him a little. He's a little Caribbean boy, naturally. He loves any kind of stew. You can tell we got that Caribbean, Nigerian blood in us because we love our stew. So there's our stew. We're going to put our stew on top of our rice, and we're going to make sure we get a lot of that natural au jus that comes off, or what we like to call gravy. On top of that, and you know what I like to eat mine? I like to eat mine with a chopstick. I don't know why. When I did my DNA test, I sure didn't find no Asia in it. But when I tell you, I love to eat with a chopstick. Love to eat with a chopstick. Right, here's my bowl and my little Asian bowl. And I love an Asian bowl. I love an Asian style bowl and an Asian style plate or decorative type plate. Love it, love it, love it. Now, if you want, you can put some of my pepper sauce that you can get online on top of this. This would make it really, really good. You can also make this with peas and rice and peas, whichever you call it, depending on which island you're from. We call it peas and rice, whereas Jamaicans call it rice and peas. And there is my bowl, and I got my chopstick wrapper right there. I'm heading upstairs. I had a horrible habit of eating in my bed. I love to eat in my bed. I don't care what you say about it. Don't judge me, judge mammy. And there are my chopsticks. I'm going to finish watching or start watching another Nigerian movie and from Nollywood, and then I'm going to just enjoy my food. It's absolutely delicious. Y'all try this one out. Let me know. Thank y'all for watching a day in the lazy life at home with Chef Holly. Bye, y'all.